You really have to ask yourself, are we actually living in a simulation? Out there in the vast, dark forest of the universe, are we truly alone? Or are we literally on the brink of living forever? Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're embarking on an absolute mind-bending journey through some of the deepest, most profound mysteries of physics. We're drawing on decades of intense scientific research and the brilliant insights of world-renowned theoretical physicists to figure out the ultimate destiny of humanity in the cosmos. We're going to explore the whole shebang, from the serious search for extraterrestrial intelligence all the way to the breathtaking, very real possibility of achieving human immortality. So let's just dive right into it.
To really grasp our future, we first have to wrap our heads around our incredibly precarious present. I mean, humanity is balancing on a razor's edge right now. The biologist Edward O. Wilson hit the nail on the head when he said the real problem of humanity is that we have Paleolithic emotions, medieval institutions, and godlike technology. Think about it. For the first time in human history, we actually possess the godlike capabilities to alter our own biology, to manipulate atoms, and, potentially wipe ourselves out completely through nuclear weapons, designer germs, or advanced artificial intelligence. We're wielding this staggering, universe-altering power, but we're still dragging around these primal instincts and totally outdated institutions.
And because of this wild technological acceleration, we're suddenly forced to confront these deep existential questions that, honestly, used to be pure science fiction. The everyday reality we perceive, the three dimensions of space and one of time, that might actually just be a tiny, tiny sliver of actual existence. It makes you wonder, are we just inhabitants clinging to the skin of some gigantic cosmic bubble? Are there other civilizations out there grappling with these exact same technological hurdles? And maybe the most pressing question of all for us right now, can science actually stop the biological clock of human aging? To search for those answers, we've got a very specific roadmap for This Explainer. First up, decoding the fabric of reality. Second, the truth about UFOs. Third, reaching a Type 1 civilization. Fourth, the quantum AI revolution. And finally, number 5, the quest for immortality.
All right, let's start with Section 1, decoding the fabric of reality and the search for the theory of everything. We're going to zoom all the way down to the microscopic limits of reality here to understand what everything around us is actually made of.
For the longest time, we thought the universe was just made up of protons, neutrons, and electrons. Full stop. But then we started building these massive atom smashers, and we found hundreds of subatomic particles in the debris. It was total chaos. But then, enter string theory. What's so beautiful about this framework is how it takes all that chaos and simplifies it. String theory proposes that if you magnify an electron, it's not some tiny dot or a point at all. It's actually a tiny vibrating string. It's almost like a cosmic cello. Just like different vibrations on a guitar string give you different musical notes, different vibrations of these incredibly small cosmic strings create the different subatomic particles we see. And to make the math work, theoretically, this requires an 11-dimensional universe. 11. Even crazier, the highest invisible vibrations of these strings? Well, physicists think that might actually be exactly what we call dark matter.
Now, the ultimate holy grail of all this research is what physicists call the theory of everything. This is the profound mystery that completely eluded Albert Einstein for the last 30 years of his life. Look, we already have a short equation for gravity and another short equation for the electromagnetic force. But the dream? The dream is to find one single unified equation, maybe no more than 1 inch long, that elegantly explains all 4 fundamental forces of the universe. As Einstein put it, an equation that would allow us to read the mind of God. Because from this single 1-inch equation of physics, you get chemistry. From chemistry, you get biology. And from biology, you get us and our entire universe.
And this brilliant theory doesn't just explain our universe. It actually points to what might have happened before it. We know our universe is expanding, kind of like a balloon. But what actually caused the Big Bang? Well, modern physics suggests the Big Bang was a quantum event. And in the bizarre world of quantum physics, if an event happens once, probabilities dictate that it can happen again, and again, and again. When the vacuum of space becomes highly unstable and exceeds what we call Planck energy, which is essentially the absolute maximum energy limit of the universe, it becomes full of bubbles. So our universe? It's highly likely it's simply one expanding soap bubble floating in this impossibly vast cosmic bubble bath of infinite parallel universes, the multiverse.
Which perfectly sets up Section 2, the truth about UFOs and shifting the burden of proof. Because if our universe is just one of many, statistics practically demand that we aren't alone out here.
Now, when we talk about extraterrestrial intelligence, we absolutely have to rely on testable, reproducible evidence, not just wild speculation.
In scientific terms, we categorize these into 3 types of close encounters. The first kind is simply seeing anomalous lights or objects in the sky, and that accounts for the vast majority of sightings. The second kind involves recovering tangible, physical hardware like engines or wreckage. And the third kind? That's a direct encounter or communication with the entities themselves. So here's the crucial takeaway. While we have absolute mountains of first-kind encounters, science is rigorously searching for that smoking gun. We need a second-kind encounter. Without recovering tangible physical evidence, scientists simply have to reserve their final judgment.
But here's the thing. Something truly historic has shifted recently. We aren't just relying on blurry photos or stories from suburbanites seeing weird lights anymore. With the declassification of hundreds of official military files and explosive testimonies from high-ranking intelligence whistleblowers claiming we actually have recovered non-human crash wreckage, the whole narrative is flipped upside down. The burden of proof has shifted entirely. It is now squarely on the Pentagon to definitively prove that these highly documented, highly credible military anomalies are not extraterrestrial.
And if they are extraterrestrial, what exactly are we dealing with? Keep in mind, space is astonishingly, mind-numbingly vast. Our fastest Saturn V rocket would take something like 70,000 years just to hop over to the nearest star. So any civilization capable of actually reaching Earth would have to be thousands, maybe millions of years ahead of us in development. Because of those unfathomable transit times and the lethal harshness of deep space, it's highly probable that any visitors aren't biological beings at all. They'd be artificial machine intelligence, robotic probes. And honestly, this perfectly explains the whole UFO mystery. It explains why these objects don't just land on the White House lawn to say hello. A robotic probe wouldn't have human empathy or a desire to chat. It would simply arrive, observe, and report back.
All right, let's zoom back in from the cosmos to our own global evolution. Section 3, Reaching Type 1 Civilization, and the Great Filter. Because if humanity actually survives its current technological adolescence, where are we heading?
We actually have a way to measure a civilization's technological advancement. It's called the Kardashev scale, and it's based entirely on energy consumption. Right now, humanity is hovering around a level 0.72. We're not even a Type 1 yet. A Type 1 is a true planetary civilization. To reach that, a species has to capture, store, and utilize all of the available energy on its home planet. We're talking a staggering power consumption of 10 to the 16th power watts. But here is the massive catch, the terrifying part. Reaching this incredible energy threshold is widely considered to be a great filter. If a civilization recklessly generates all this energy using the wrong methods, it risks destroying the very biosphere it relies on to survive. It literally causes its own societal collapse before ever reaching Type 1.
And the projected data brilliantly illustrates exactly what we have to do to survive and pass that filter. To reach Type 1 without completely cooking the Earth via carbon emissions, we need a massive, unprecedented global energy transition. Advanced models that factor in international climate agreements show that our fossil fuel consumption, coal, natural gas, and oil, has to peak very soon and drastically plummet to near zero by the mid-21st century. But at the exact same time, to feed our growing civilization's immense hunger for power, we have to pull off a staggering, exponential expansion in both renewable energy and nuclear power.
So the big question, when will we actually get there? Well, if we successfully navigate this incredibly dangerous transition, if we manage to balance our godlike technology without accidentally triggering our own self-destruction, scientific models actually calculate a very specific timeline for us. Assuming we keep up the necessary exponential growth in clean energy and we actually maintain good planetary stewardship, humanity is projected to officially hit a Kardashev scale value of 1.00 by the year 2371. Sure, it's a slow climb, but guys, this is literally our ultimate roadmap to becoming a true planetary species.
Now, let's look at the incredible technology that's either going to propel us to that Type 1 status or, destroy us first. Section 4. The Quantum AI Revolution and Computing with Atoms.
To really appreciate this monumental leap, you have to look at how we process information today. Our entire modern world runs on digital computers, and those compute using transistors. They're strictly binary. They are just tiny switches that are either up or down, on or off, a 1 or a 0. It's incredibly linear. But the future is quantum computing. Instead of clunky binary transistors, a quantum computer calculates using the ultimate foundational objects of reality itself, individual atoms. And because the laws of quantum mechanics are just wonderfully bizarre, an atom isn't restricted to just being a 1 or a 0. It can exist in a superposition, meaning it holds an infinite number of states between 0 and 1 all at the exact same time. This allows quantum computers to process information in countless different directions simultaneously. It is an absolute game changer.
But, as with all godlike technology, the existential danger here is massive. This computing power is so extraordinarily vast that it literally threatens the foundation of our modern society. Intelligence agencies like the CIA are ringing alarm bells because a fully realized quantum computer could essentially instantly crack any standard digital encryption on Earth. We're talking about everything from global banking systems to blockchain networks. It could potentially crack algorithms like Bitcoin in a snap, effectively bringing global capitalism to a screeching halt. The threat is so real that major tech companies have already set a super aggressive 2029 deadline to completely overhaul global cybersecurity before these atomic computers can break our current digital reality.
Which brings us to our final topic. We're bringing our journey back down from the cosmos and quantum realms to the intricate biology of your own body. Section 5. The quest for immortality and the biological clock. Because at the end of the day, the ultimate goal of all this advanced technology might just be cheating death itself.
You see, we tend to think of aging as this unstoppable law of physics, but it's actually not. It is simply a biological mechanism. At the end of every single human chromosome, there are these protective structures called telomeres. The best way to picture them is like those little plastic tips at the end of your shoelaces. These telomeres act as a literal ticking biological clock. Every single time a cell reproduces in your body, those telomeres get just a tiny bit shorter. Eventually, over decades, they get so short that they fray and fall apart. When that happens, the cell stops dividing and, well, you physically age and eventually die.
But recently, scientists made an absolutely staggering discovery. We found a chemical that naturally occurs in biology called telomerase, and this chemical can actually rebuild those telomeres. It can literally stop the biological clock from ticking. That is the incredible, tantalizing good news. A genuine biological path to practically infinite lifespans. But here is the devastatingly grim reality of it. We also discovered that cancer cells use this exact same mechanism, this exact same telomerase, to achieve their own immortality. That is precisely why cancer is so incredibly deadly. The cancer cells never age, and they just multiply forever. So right now, science is locked in this desperate, high-stakes race. How do we harness this mechanism to extend healthy human life without accidentally waking up the dark, immortal nature of cancer?
When you take a step back and synthesize all of this, from computing with individual atoms and chasing genetic immortality, to trying to harness the energy of an entire planet, you really start to realize the immense gravity of our current situation. Humanity is walking a razor-thin tightrope. If we tilt the knife one way, we trigger ecological collapse, digital chaos, or global war. But if we tilted the other way, we unlock infinite clean energy, we cure biological aging, and we finally reach out to the stars to join other advanced civilizations. The godlike potential is there, but the utopian outcome? That is definitely not guaranteed.
Which leaves us with the ultimate question. As we peer out into a multiverse of endless possibilities, will humanity successfully master its breathtaking technology and become a true galactic species? Or will our stubborn Paleolithic emotions serve as the great filter that abruptly ends our story right here on Earth? The tools are literally in our hands. The physics absolutely allows for it, and the vast, dark forest of the universe is out there waiting. The choice is entirely ours. Thanks so much for watching this explainer, and remember, keep questioning the reality around you.